Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic for you today. Let's get after it. What's the dumbest thing you've done in your 20s? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Went to Italy and forgot to eat pizza. Drank my way through my entire 20s. After 25, it wasn't really fun anymore, but that didn't stop me. Drank for another 5 years. My 20s are a total blur, splattered with some fun times here and there, but mostly just me running away from things with alcohol. Almost 17 years later, and not one drop. My 30s and 40s are exceptionally better. Drove 187 miles to drop her a scarf back that she left at my student house. Didn't even get a thanks. Just an Instagram story of her wearing the scarf out that night. I do have a fully functional life, but in my 20s, I definitely locked out of the door all of those basic experiences one should live at least once in their life. I'm talking about taking an international trip, or going at a concert, or trying to get new friends and such. I mostly followed an unreachable professional dream, which was such because I never intended to move out of my comfort zone in the first place, and then found some refuge and gratification in lonely hobbies I experienced at home. It took me a huge amount of guts to get out of that pond and start living a bit. Deeper inside, I still pay the price of such inaction today, and have professional and family responsibilities now doesn't help. Stuck with a girl who not only was full of red flags, but then proceeded to have kids with her and got married, only to have ruined and wasted 13 years of my life where I couldn't have friends, lost almost all of my family because they all disliked her, two-faced self, and basically have only lived my 20s at a factory, putting in overtime after overtime, only to remain broke because the person I was with would go on shopping sprees rather than save for our kids' futures. My 20s sucked, and now that I'm in my 30s, it doesn't look much better.
You waited till your 20s to jump from a moving train? I thought that was teenage type stuff. Can't believe they actually arrested you. That's unfortunate, but well done. And don't do it, anyone else, okay? Don't jump off a moving train. Very dangerous.
Jumped from an express train, going at a speed of nearly 40 to 45 km/h. No, not a suicide attempt. It's just that the train wasn't supposed to stop at the station I wanted to get off of. So, I jumped when it entered the station. Somehow, landed on my feet and couldn't believe it. Had a smirk, and as soon as I looked in front, there was a policeman with a stick. Never in my life have I seen a policeman at that station. He casually asked me, "Did you just jump from that train?" I went blank. He said, "Okay, come with me. You're going to the station, police." Now comes the fun part. It's an early morning, and since the police station is within walking distance from the railway station, I'm getting escorted by two policemen, one in front and the other back. In the middle of both the station is the local market that sets up at the morning. It's crowded, and everyone is looking at me, some laughing, while police are making way. I lowered my head down, and the only thing coming to my mind is the walk of shame from Game of Thrones. Nevertheless, after reaching the station, the policeman informs me that since it's Saturday, either you pay a fine or be in jail till Monday, when they will produce me in front of judge. Begged a little, spoke in English a little, acted sincere, made sure they knew I'm well educated, and finally the senior guy let me go with a bribe. Was seriously disappointed with how a police station actually looks like. I'm from India, by the way. I cringe when I think how reckless some things I did were, but I remember turning 21 while being stationed in Germany, coming back from Iraq and going on leave with some buddies, did some touring around beautiful Europe. In Prague, we got some drinks at the place we were staying at, had open access to its roof. We went up and drank and took in the night view until we were drunk, then sitting on the ledge with our feet dangling and joking about how loose and wiggly the bricks we were sitting on were, truly loose, and laughing about how stupid it would be To fall and die in a random street in Prague, better than a random path in Iraq. So dumb looking back now 16 years later. A lot of people would have been so pissed at me, lol. I was hopelessly addicted to heroin. That led to lots of shenanigans. Robbing summer rentals in the winter was probably the worst of it. I eventually caught and served time. 14 years clean and living an extremely normal life now. My 20s were a wild time. The dumbest thing I did, looking back, was probably getting married to my ex-wife. I should have seen the signs of her mental illness, but I ignored them. It did have some very positive impact on my life. I wouldn't be where I am today, but overall, we shouldn't have gotten married. Only thing I can think is making $20K in stocks and throwing it all in a make-or-break deal that didn't come through. This was pre-house and pre-kids. Money seemed to be much more readily available, but once them bills start to appear, having spare cash gets harder and harder. That $20K would be very helpful right now. Apart from that, I'm happy with every decision I've made.
I'd like to think that mistakes we made financially in relationships with people we might not or should not have done is a lesson to learn when you do meet someone who's worth it, right? At least that's what we hope for.
Maxed out my $5,000 credit card on a girl so she could go to school and not graduate. I'm not with any more for love, lol. After some years, my credit is back over 700 again, but I will definitely never do that again, lol. Didn't ask for help when I got in trouble financially. I was sucked into payday loans eventually, owing thousands. Got so bad that my payments were more than my wages. Still struggling now, but almost there. Also, refusing to pay 2 debts and getting 2 CCJs. One was for a payday loan that I felt was unfair, and second was for a parking fine. The original payment was 20p. I didn't buy because I thought it was after hours, no payment, but they changed it to 24-hour pay anyway. I was there 12 minutes, and they wanted £450 for failing to pay. Both cases, court agreed with them and forced me to pay. Developed a drinking problem in undergrad that evolved into full-blown alcoholism in grad school. Stopped taking care of myself. Went from a 200-pound muscular 6'2" to a 300-pound slob. Got a DUI in my late 20s, stopped drinking for a bit, then thought I could maybe drink socially again. I could not. Gained 10 more pounds. Thankfully, about 2 years ago, I stopped drinking, got diagnosed with ADHD, and procured the meds associated with it, and am able to unwind with an edible if I need it, as opposed to booze. Dropped down to 255, and am back in the gym. I can't recover what I lost, but I can do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again. I crashed a golf cart at 29. I was so tucked up with road rash, both ankles were rolled. It took 2 years for one ankle to feel normal again. Still have a bunch of scarring. Have never effed myself up so bad before. The road rash and treating it all over my body was one of the most painful things I've ever dealt with. I'm so careful in those things now, and honestly, just everything in general. Lucky I didn't hit my head. A friend offered me a few pills of MDMA, and since I had it once before, I thought, why not? Well, under normal circumstances, I probably would have been more careful, but I was in a bad spot and did the worst thing I could have done. I took these 5 pills over the course of 3 consecutive nights. I didn't overdose, but at the 3rd night, I didn't feel any of the effects anymore because my body was fresh out of endorphins. Maybe I'm mistaking the hormone here. Too lazy to sum it up right now. So, when the remaining endorphins in my bloodstream were used up, I felt like shit. For about 2 weeks, I was extremely depressed, to the point where I considered just giving up entirely on life. Luckily, I was aware why I felt so down, and this could be the reason with me to grind through this time, but it was hard. That was an experience I don't need again. I would take MDMA again, but definitely not like this. That was stupid, like possibly life-threateningly stupid. I didn't engage anyone else though, so that's a little upside to it, I guess.
Well, whatever it is that you decide to do, whether finishing the career, the degree, or moving on to another field, just make sure you do it because you want to, not because you feel society says you have to. Otherwise, you'll probably never be happy.
So far, not studying the things I like and wasting time, but I have enough time to F up more, so we'll see. Also, I decided to take a really good mortgage 3 years ago and buy a flat and rent it. Great investment opportunity. But now the guy decided not to pay rent, and I have to go into debt even more. I had to move to another city, and now I have no savings. Not the best time for the guy to decide to stop paying. Half a year ago, or half a year later, would not have bothered me so much. But now I can barely pay my shit. So that's quite high on the list. If someone wants to pay for my feet pics, I'm in, laughing my ass off. I'm a guy, just saying, before someone really messages me.